Some stories in history sound so unlikely that they feel like legend. A person facing certain death, not once but twice, and somehow surviving. In the final days of World War II, in a country that was about to witness the most destructive weapon humanity had ever created, one man found himself at the center of it all. His name was Tsutomu Yamaguchi. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a leader or a famous figure. He was just an engineer working for Mitsubishi, a husband, a father, a man living what should have been an ordinary life. But in August of 1945, his work sent him on a short trip to Hiroshima, and fate would put him in the middle of history's darkest chapter. On the morning of August 6th, Yamaguchi was preparing to leave Hiroshima after finishing his assignment. It was a clear day, warm and quiet, and he was on his way to the shipyard before heading to the train station. At 8:15 a.m., he saw a sudden flash in the sky, brighter than anything he had ever witnessed. In that moment, the world seemed to vanish. The blast threw him to the ground. His ears burst. The skin on his face and arms burned. Around him, the city collapsed, buildings flattened, fire spreading in every direction. Tens of thousands killed in seconds. Yamaguchi stumbled through the chaos, dazed and injured. Somehow he survived the unimaginable. That evening, with bandages hastily wrapped around his wounds, he managed to reach the train station. Against all logic, trains were still running out of Hiroshima. Yamaguchi boarded one and returned to his hometown of Nagasaki. He believed he had escaped death, but only 3 days later, his nightmare would begin again. On August 9th, still covered in burns, Yamaguchi went back to work. When his boss saw him, he asked what had happened. Yamaguchi told him, "A single bomb destroyed Hiroshima." His boss didn't believe him. No single weapon could possibly do that. But at 11:02 a.m., the sky lit up once again. The second atomic bomb, Fat Man, had been dropped on Nagasaki. Yamaguchi was just a few kilometers from the center. The blast shattered the windows of his office and threw him across the room. But the walls around him held firm. His wounds reopened, his body was battered, but he was alive. In the space of 3 days, he had survived not one, but 2 atomic bombings. When he returned home, he found his wife and baby daughter alive as well. By sheer chance, they had been shielded from the blast. After the war, Japan lay in ruins. Hiroshima and Nagasaki were devastated. Hundreds of thousands had died, and many more would suffer from radiation sickness for the rest of their lives. Yamaguchi returned to a quieter life. He became a teacher, raised his children, and carried his scars in silence. For years, he rarely spoke about what he had endured. But as time went on, he realized he could not stay silent forever. The world was entering a new age. Nuclear weapons were spreading, nations were building arsenals, and the possibility of another Hiroshima or Nagasaki was becoming more real every day. Yamaguchi began to tell his story, not to relive his trauma, but to warn others. He wanted people to know exactly what he had seen and survived so that no one else would have to experience it. In 2009, the Japanese government officially recognized Tsutomu Yamaguchi as the only known survivor of both atomic bombings, what they called a nijū hibakusha, a double survivor. By then, he was already in his 90s, still carrying his message. The following year, in 2010, he passed away at the age of 93. His story is almost impossible to believe, yet it is true. He was an ordinary man, in the wrong place at the wrong time, twice. He survived the deadliest weapons humanity had ever used, and he carried the memory with him for the rest of his life, turning his suffering into a warning for the future. Tsutomu Yamaguchi's life is not just about survival. It is about responsibility. It is about witnessing humanity's darkest invention and choosing to speak against it. His story reminds us of the destructive power of nuclear weapons, but also of the resilience of the human spirit. He lived through the end of the world twice, so that maybe no one else ever has to.